Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystical Sisterhood. To learn more about my one-on-one coaching programs or join the Mystical Sisterhood membership, visit maureenspielman.com or mysticalsisterhood.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Welcome back to Mystical Sisterhood and welcome to Marjorie. I'm beyond thrilled that you're here with me. We became connected through my dear friend Nani and her daughter Christine. And I just love how the universe brings people together. I'm fascinated by your work. And so we'll dive in today. I'll just say to the audience that you're a practitioner of the Rosen Method. So we're going to learn all about that, something that aside from our conversation a week or two ago, it wasn't part of my world. So right there, that could be the whole podcast. But just you have a lot of wisdom to share and a lot of wisdom about becoming centered, becoming heart-centric, learning about how our body speaks to us, and so much more. So welcome, Marjorie. So glad to have you.
Thank you, Maureen. Really
Yeah.
appreciate having this opportunity because it's unusual.
Yes.
People don't know a lot about the Rosen Method, so I'm happy to share about it. And then just to clarify, it has two parts. It has a movement part and a touch body work part.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Well, I want to dive into all of that. Your background with the body is fascinating. I don't know where you want to start with your story and how you came to this work, but I always just say to my guest, wherever you want to start that makes sense to you, to how you were led to being a body work practitioner and expert.
Well, I don't know about expert, but I do. I want to start a long time ago, 50 years ago in high school. I was drawn to a presentation of dancers, and I thought, oh, I want to. It was through an urban arts program where you got to study with the artist in the community, and you took a bus away from school and then back to school. And these dancers really, I thought, I want to be in my body. I want to learn more about movement. So I did that for when I started when I was 17, which is an old age to start dancing, really. But I realized, I think, that I wasn't a performer. I studied dance for about 10 years, actually, and did some performing, but realized I was more interested in the connection between people, in improvisation, in the sensing of each other in space. So I started to study body work. And I started with massage and energy work, just exploring all kinds of touch work. And then I realized that people's tension wasn't getting better, that I was trying to fix it from the outside. And so I thought, well, there must be a better way. So just following the thread of my own practice, touching people, the privilege really of touching a lot of people in this intimate way, brought me to be curious about, well, how could this tension that people are holding change? Is there some other way to do it? So I started to explore different kinds of Hakomi. And I found Rosen bodywork because it had a movement component, which of course I'd been a dancer, and this hands-on component.
Yeah. And
so Marion Rosen was a physical therapist, and she started touching people in a certain way that brought out people's stories, that brought out people's emotions, that seemed to have a way to get inside, underneath the holding. And what was that holding doing for people, right? That was her curiosity. And that fit perfectly in what my question was. Well, what is this holding all about? The muscle tension, what's going on there? So I want to just talk a little bit about Marion Rosen, because I think her background really helps know why she was so interested in that in a way. And that she was born in 1914 in Germany, and she was a pretty, a young woman during when the Nazis were in control of Germany, and she was not a practicing Jew. Her family wasn't, but she had Jewish ancestors, and so she was considered Jewish. And she's told a story at one of the intensive trainings that I worked with her. She said, I grew up and it would say Juden verboten on the window, the store window. And it meant Jews forbidden.
Mhm.
And she said, no one should be forbidden without being known. And so there was something about her knowing how important it was to be seen and known for who you truly are.
Mhm.
And that's the base of her work. So the touch is trusting that each person has their own knowing and wisdom. And if they can live from that, if they can feel that and know that, not just from their heads,
Yeah.
but from a deep knowing in their bodies, that they can actually relax.
Well, I just want to remark on both your journey to the Rosen method and then something that came up for her is just that following you had that it felt like a really intuitive question around why are people not letting go of their tension? What's going on here? There must be something more leading you down that path of just maybe trying these different avenues. I think it's remarkable how each of us has what will speak to us, and it's got to be related to what our purpose is and what our unique gifts are.
Right.
But then that also was true for it was Marion Rosen, and
Mhm.
that she knew she from a young age that she wanted to know more about people to tap into their being seen based on her experience. It's so beautiful.
Well, I think too, she wasn't able to go to university because she was Jewish. And so her
Hmm.
mother, who was a kind of bohemian person, hooked her up with um, the Gustavs. And um, Gustav, Gustav Heyer, sorry, the Heyers. Gustav Heyer was a Jungian analyst, and his wife was a body breath touch person. And they combined the work, the
Hmm.
early mind body work in the 30s in Germany. And so she was exposed to this idea that when people had a sense of their body, that they did better emotionally. That was
Yes.
early in her experience. And then she left Germany. She had to leave Germany as a Jew and escaped and came to the United States. And I think that stayed with her, right?
Hmm.
Somehow,
Hmm.
that early experience. So, yeah.
You
And
can,
I think for me, too, I had my own tension, right? So, healer,
mhm.
heal thyself, my own journey, my own curiosity.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I realized that people weren't, other massage therapists weren't always getting the same response I was getting.
Yeah.
I was touching
Hmm.
people and they would have emotions, or they would tell me
Hmm.
stories about their life, or they would reveal things. So I needed to find a way to how to do deal with that when I
Okay.
was, in
Yeah.
with them. And
And yeah.
so Rosen Method really has that um,
Okay.
piece to it.
Well, I was going to ask you just a question for the listeners, sort of background. So I think when we met, just recently, I was saying, are we moving into the age of the body? Like where we're really, there's been research out there for for quite some time, some very foundational books written about like the body keeps the score. I'm sure you have a lot that you've read and really have become important to you. But can you kind of talk about just how the body holds on to past experiences, emotions, and that kind of background work before you tell us about how touch releases it?
I'd like to start with babies,
Mm,
right? I'm not a mother, but I have nephews, and I have studied a lot about about developmental movement and how the first really thing a baby needs to do is to yield, right? To be held and to
mm,
feel that ability to say, "Oh, I'm safe." There's a way to when they're out of the
yeah,
womb. There's a container for that, and we don't think babies come with an agenda to like manipulate us. If they're hungry, they let us know. If they need their diaper changed and they're uncomfortable, they let us know. So it's natural that they pay attention to their body, and they're helpless pretty much.
yeah.
So the only thing they can do is verbally protest.
Mhm.
So as a parent, I'm guessing you figured out, oh, that's a hungry cry.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
when the mom feeds the baby can relax and the mom can relax. Oh,
Mm.
that the need was met from the outside in.
Yeah.
And so the baby learns, oh, that means when I'm hungry, later on, I know that sensation, that satisfies that sensation.
Yeah.
There's a direct relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if every time a baby cries and we just feed them, they don't get to know, oh, I just want to be held, or I need to be warmer, or they don't get to differentiate the
Mm-hmm.
sensation and the experience and integrate it.
Okay.
So maybe, when we need to be connected, we eat, because
Right.
that's what was done for
Mm-hmm.
us, rather
Mm-hmm.
than satisfy, really meet the need there.
Okay.
So we
Mm-hmm.
get confused. We don't really know that sensation means I just need to cry because I got scared, or, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's yeah, it starts so pure. It starts
Yeah.
so there's just a few needs to be held, to be fed, to feel connected though. And it feels like from your description that there can be almost like confusion or mixed messages, I guess is the word. Even it's on such a, nonverbal level of things. But I've read that and know that imprinting occurs in the first years of life.
Yeah, so it's very important to meet the need. So in a way, that same meeting is what happens in Rosen. So
Okay.
here you are, here I am, and where we come together through the contact, through the touch, is a third place. It's a unique place of the meeting.
Ooh.
What happens there?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's where I bring my curiosity and invite you to come. And what's it like to meet me?
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's no right and wrong about that. Maybe you don't want to meet me. Maybe it's
Yeah.
scary. And maybe I need to find another place to touch you, or to give you a break from touch. I don't know, but we get to explore that meeting place. And the way that is different from massage is that I don't try to change anything.
Mhm.
I try, there's
Yeah.
that word try. So I just meet you and see what happens.
It feels like an energetic meeting as well. The two if is that right? Like in terms of people's energy fields and coming
Yeah, I mean,
together in that place?
that's always there, but we don't talk about energy
Okay.
because we want to actually feel the sensations. And the sensations are, like we said, when I'm hungry, I know I have a sensation, I'm hungry, so I eat, or I'm
Mhm.
tired, so I rest. So we want to start to explore, well, what is that sensation? And we use words too, because we want to speak from the body. We want to make it conscious. Oh, I feel a little tingling there, or I feel
Mhm.
some warmth there. We start with sensations so we can bypass thinking about things, stuff we
Yeah.
know up here.
Okay.
So we want the bottom up processing. We want to start with, what do I know from sensing this connection?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
sometimes it can heal, developmental relational
Yeah.
wounds, because we can explore, well, what it's like to be touched. And so the people will say, oh, I feel comforted,
Mhm.
or I feel supported. I'm not trying to support them. I'm not trying to comfort them.
Yeah.
So what comes from their experience of the contact is what they needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And therein lies the healing part. Do
Yeah.
sometimes um people come in saying, Marjorie, I have a sensation in a particular part of my body, a- and or sometimes it's where you lay your hands that then they become in touch with the sensation and the information underneath it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a client had right shoulder problems, and so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want to, if it's, I ask permission, or where do you want to be touched first. So it's about really respecting that,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
starting with what's safe enough for people.
Yeah.
So that you may not go right to where the pain is. Maybe we'll start somewhere else, just to get used to each other, to start to
Yeah.
have a connection,
It's
and
yeah.
what feels okay to that person. But yeah, sometimes people can really feel what's underneath,
Yeah.
right? When there's the support or contact. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening. We call it meeting and listening touch. I'm not trying to change anything, because I want you to feel what's there, rather than bypass or
Mm-hmm.
go around, or which is what we learned to do, or hold whatever we needed to hold in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I feel
So
like trust is a big word that's coming to mind for me because we don't always have the opportunities to really learn how to trust
right.
when we're young. And so it's the rebuilding, and you're sharing about how respectful it is and honoring to go to be able to work with a person's body. I think you mentioned that, and to have that sort of privilege. Um, but it's so respectful, and the words body autonomy are coming to mind, and
Yeah.
just having someone ask you, can I touch you? Because we do, I think as I've learned more about the body, I realize that, we often are touched, or it's evolving into a new space where it is our body. And I don't know, I think there's a lot around just that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You have a right to say no,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or
Mm-hmm.
yes to whatever contact you have.
Yeah.
And it's so important, right, to respect, people's capacity for that kind of contact. It might be
Yeah.
really scary. There might
Mm-hmm.
have been abuse. And how do
Mm-hmm.
you really trust? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to be touched there, or that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
And to,
Mm-hmm.
not take it personally, right? As the
Yeah.
practitioner, right? That they're having an experience that, I'm not trying to hurt them, or I'm not hurting you, but it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel okay. We want to honor what the experience
Yeah.
is, and then keep exploring that further. Well, what wasn't, what isn't safe about that? Can we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of exploration there. It reminds me of a massage I had recently, and you're helping me see that at that particular time I had had a flare up in a hip, an injury I never had before. It was just in the muscle on my hip. And in the massage, I think the therapist was manipulating me the way that she almost like prescriptively thought would work for me.
Right.
And it got to a point where it did tap into emotion, which a lot of people, we don't even have that. We've been so many disconnected from our mind, body, spirit, that we don't always connect. That I think in the past, I would have just been on the table like, oh, I just had a wave of sadness, not knowing that the touch brought it apart. So there's a couple parts of that where I didn't really have that kind of relationship. You're also talking about with your clients building relationships. And yeah, this therapist kind of just going in, but also, I don't know, I feel like even in that experience, if I went back to it, if that were to tap into emotion, allowing that, allowing some space around it, allowing some time around it in order to process it.
Right.
And do you sometimes see too clients be like, whoa, whoa, when you tap into something that's a bit more informational, intense, strong feeling for them?
Yeah. And yet that's why they come,
Yeah.
because that they I want to provide a container for that.
Yeah.
Because every emotion has a sensation, and people don't always know that. They don't
Yeah.
always know, what is that sort of butterfly feeling? Is it excitement? Is it fear? Is it a combination that we're not used to exploring,
Yeah.
right? Sensation
Hmm.
of emotion. And
So,
being able to stay with it, with someone saying, yeah,
yeah.
that's, you're
Yeah.
scared, or, oh, you're sad. That's right. Can you just let that sensation be there with
Yeah.
me?
And so that's going to be particular to each person that comes to you, to each individual out there on earth. So then it sounds like it's really a process of you being a guide and the intelligence coming up from them. But then it can kind of give, I feel like, your clients a roadmap to kind of deciphering, oh, what does that mean? That's really valuable
Yeah.
information. Hmm.
And maybe you don't have a story with it. Maybe it's just feeling, it's only feeling the emotion.
Okay.
Or maybe there
Hmm.
is a memory.
Hmm.
And so there's no, or maybe an image. There's no right or wrong about what comes or doesn't come. Some people want a story. They want to know
Yeah.
why. And
Right.
that's more of a head thing. So can
Uh-huh.
we just let the body do what it does? Is it can
Hmm.
process. Maybe it's like having tingling or shaking, or
Oh, Yeah.
vibrating, or, just that the nervous system is processing it. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have to always know in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
So
that
you,
sometimes is scary for people, these sensations. It's like, what is that? All of a sudden my legs are, vibrating, or, you know, it's normalizing that, oh, this is how the body does. This is what our bodies do for us. They
mm-hmm.
process things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's things that have been unconscious, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Haven't known.
certainly, we don't learn about our body's intelligence, about what emotions really are. We just tend to have a name for them, kind of, period. There might be a follow-up question sometimes to what they mean to somebody, but yeah, that land of venturing into the body. And someone can be, when you were talking about your early background as a dancer, that when individuals use their body in a physical way, you have a relationship with your body, but it doesn't always mean that you know how to decode how it speaks to you.
Well, and also there's, dancers have to look a certain way. They have to be thin. They have to, there's all this pressure, right? And
Hmm.
performing is different than
Hmm.
feeling inside
Yeah,
and following something inside.
it is. Yeah.
And yet a performer, you don't want to just have them like look good on the outside. You want to have something of them coming through the movement as well,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So it's not that there's a separation with art, you know,
Yeah.
but that wasn't, I was more interested in what was going on inside. And
Yeah.
I'm an introvert, so it makes sense. I wasn't so much interested in, performing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that that was something that was missing, was that intimate connection.
Yeah.
And I knew how important it was to have
Right.
someone just be with me, non-judgmentally, saying, I'm here with you. Can you trust and feel what your need was or is right now?
Hmm. Yeah.
And let it be there. And yeah, take some time.
Yeah. It's spectacular.
Yeah, it's
Um,
kind of simple.
hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
that baby. Can I just respond to the need there as a
Yeah.
caregiver? And sometimes I can't,
Hmm.
right? Moms
Yeah.
can't be perfect, parents can't be perfect, or whatever.
Right.
And it's okay.
Hmm.
Babies are very resilient. They don't have to be responded to every minute, every second.
Yeah. Hmm.
Enough. It's like enough,
Mm.
right?
It feels like the dance, though, when you are in communication with the person on the table or in your room, it's not teaching, but it reminds me of the dance that we are meant to be doing with each other as humans,
Right,
and
right.
relating to each other in this giving and receiving sort of way. And what a beautiful process too, for someone to learn how to receive and express as well. Um, However
Yeah,
it's meant to come through, if it's through the
right.
emotion, through words. So you said that
Or
Rose
movement. Hmm.
movement. I know when you say, you said the Rosen method has movement, and what was the second part of it?
And the body work, touch work.
And the body work. So what does the movement look like within
Rosen
sessions?
was uh, a physical therapist. So
Hmm.
she brilliantly took all the range of motion exercises for the joints for physical therapy and put it into a class. And so when there's more proprioception in the joints, we have to know where our joints are, because otherwise we don't want to hurt something. So there's a lot more sensation in the joints. So when our joints feel good,
Mm,
we kind of feel good. So there's a creating of synovial fluid with movement. But so they're very particular. She's very particular about the movements.
yeah.
It's more directed, and it's
Okay.
done to music. So it's kind of fun. It helps,
Yeah.
music kind of lights up the whole brain, kind
Hmm.
of makes it fun. And it's in a circle. It's community oriented. It's not about, um, even though I'm leading, it's about community.
Hmm.
And so it's just fun and easygoing. And
Yeah.
it helps people open their bodies,
Hmm.
and because there are places where we've held, right? And that's, so it's another way to get
Yes.
at feeling. Like
Hmm.
I might say, yeah, what's it like when you open your, I'm putting my arm to the side here,
Uh-huh.
and feeling the shoulder blade drop down the back.
Yeah.
Oh, that we
Hmm.
might not feel that that's what happens when we move our arm. So to get more of a sense of sensation and movement and connection in that
Yep.
way too, with people having fun.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
It's
So that's the
beautiful.
other part of the work. And it came
Okay.
before she started doing the body work,
Hmm.
actually.
Mhm.
Her client said, how can we age gracefully and not have to come to physical therapy? And she said, well, let's do this.
Yeah, yeah. That's what comes to mind when you talk about the movement part of it, because uh we in America, I feel like, sports are prevalent when we're young, and it's always push the body and what are you going to do for your workout? Your workout, you're going to lift weights, all the good things.
Well, that's
And
fine, right?
but backing up and learning. I mean, both parts of the Rosen method teach us about our body, about what it
Right.
feels like. And when I think about even my aging parents, my mom had the polymyalgia rheumatica, I think it was
Mm.
called the PMR, and then which was joint pain. And then my dad had Parkinson's, and just how, even for probably across a lot of diagnoses, things that are showing up at the body, these really just softer, gentler learning what you need movements are part of being in our body more
Well,
than
movement
doing.
is life. I mean, if we're not moving, we're dead. Basically, when we die, we stop moving. And if you've ever been with someone who's died, they're not there.
Hmm.
So just even the movement of the breath, I mean, just movement of the
Yeah.
cell membranes are making, I mean, we are
Yes.
about movement. Life
Yes.
is about moving.
Ah.
And so same thing with that body tension. It's not moving,
Mhm.
right? We
Mhm.
had to not move something because it
Yeah.
was too painful. There wasn't support to feel it.
Yeah.
So all those things, right? How we
Yeah.
have, you know, um, put our bodies into a shape even.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you a question just about, how do you see sort of exercise, and what do you think, because you're a body practitioner, you have been for a long time, what do you think is really good even in the aging process for people to be doing?
Well, walking is fabulous if you can.
Mhm.
But people like to dance. They
Ah,
like to, whatever
yes.
it gives you pleasure and joy and doesn't hurt you.
Yes.
I would say is great. Is great. And so weightlifting, all that stuff is fun. I don't see any problem with the people do unless they're like pushing past and forcing and thinking their body should do a certain thing in a
Mm.
certain way every day, all the time.
Mhm.
Can we
Mhm.
really be present to, oh, today I need to rest.
Yeah.
Today I
Yeah.
need to take a leisurely walk. Oh yeah, now I need to really walk because it feels
Y-
good. So to respond again to what's inside,
Okay.
to respond to
Mhm.
yourself, I mean, to
Mhm.
be in touch with that. And Marion Rosen said, the Rosen movement really, she said, once a week, what we want to do is open the body. So when you do anything else, you're not lifting weights from here,
Mhm.
right? You're
Mhm.
lifting weights from a more open place,
Mhm.
right? Or
Mhm.
whatever. That
Yeah.
that you should do a variety of things. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
Pleasure,
so
pleasure, pleasure.
that's what it sounds like in the dance. Absolutely. I'm really liking that one. Is Marion Rosen still alive, Marjorie?
She died in 2012 at 93, 92, I think,
Hmm.
92. Yeah.
What a body of work. What else, with your journey with her studies, is there anything? I know I want to talk to you a little bit about your embodiment work too, but what have I missed with the Rosen method? Or have we covered like a nice general outline? It's a really just juicy area of work.
I just think the power of touch. I mean, we're mammals, right?
Hmm.
And, they've done studies that high licking rat mothers have calmer babies, right?
Yeah.
That there's
Yeah.
more when there's contact and there is that kind of attentive, I'm really there with you
Yes.
kind of contact. That's
Mm-hmm.
what's important for
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really important. And, we have all kinds of um, cultural conditioning that comes in. I mean, that we learn, like boys don't cry, and men can be angry, but women can cry, but they can't be angry. And,
Mm-hmm.
we have all these rules and schools, and, we're taught that we have to sit all the time at
Yeah.
desks, can't move, we can't wiggle, or,
Absolutely.
there's all
Yeah.
these, still a lot of cultural rules. Religion has them, how behavior, and not that all of them are bad. I'm not saying that,
Yes.
but can we be, so much has, weight for women. I mean, there's so much, right, that has not been
Absolutely.
supportive,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I
And
know.
yeah, I was going to mention, racism too. One of the things I wanted to do, and I forgot at the beginning, was to introduce myself. So people who are
Mm-hmm.
just listening to know I am a white, cisgendered, older woman who's a
Mm-hmm.
touch practitioner. That's a lot of who I am.
Yeah,
And that if you don't see me, that you have a sense of who I am and how I
absolutely.
am seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People don't know. Maybe people have all kinds of assumptions by how I look, or even by those things I said.
Mm-hmm.
So all
Absolutely.
that comes up in the touch work. What has gotten in our way of being in our hearts, of seeing people? I love Valerie Carr. Do you know her work?
I don't think I do.
She's wrote a book called Revolutionary Love, and she says, and I wrote it down because I wanted to say it right. When you see someone, can you feel you are a part of me I do not know yet know?
Mm-hmm.
You are a part of me I do not yet know. And in a way, that's how I approach touching people. Can we get to know each other
Yes. Yeah.
in a deep way? And
Mm-hmm.
this wisdom that comes from knowledge of yourself,
Yeah.
is there space for that? And she said, can we wonder about people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we grieve with them? Because she
Mm-hmm.
said, that's the price, the gift in a way, and the price of love. This work allows me to care for people.
Yeah, it so comes across. I heard another friend of mine say last week, it reminds me of Valerie's quote is I cannot exist without you. You cannot exist without me. It's very reciprocal.
Yeah.
Um, I appreciate everything you're introducing into our conversation about cultural conditioning because so much is invisible to us. But when we become open to getting curious, I think there was a time that I even thought, oh, marketing doesn't affect me that much. Well, yes, it does. Yes, it does. You've just been almost like so sheepishly conditioned that you think it doesn't, but that's not the ways that you've adopted or that it's you took on other people's thoughts and ideas of who you were supposed to be. And then, you get to this point in life and you're just, we all have inclinations, even when we're younger too, like this is not for me. This is not for me, but it's really dense and thick to move through. So just the conversation of let's just say what it is and how we're affected by it. And then work from that point. No judgment, no, just awareness.
Yeah, and how to feel that. What I don't know about you. I don't wear makeup. And I
Hmm.
put lipstick on once, when I was in junior high, and it was like, oh my God, I can't stand the feel of that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. So I
Uh-huh.
never did that. So I trusted that, like, ooh,
Yes.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
So we don't, get to trust that. We're supposed to look a certain way to fit in. We want to belong. Of course we
Hmm.
do, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
Valerie Carr also says, can we choose to fight for and with others?
Yeah.
So she says that it's an orientation towards life that is personal, but also political or collective.
Yeah.
Because we're not just individuals. And Marion Rosen said that too. She said one time she was at an intensive and the whole room, people were crying. And she said, emotions are great, but that's not the end.
Hmm.
What are we going to do with the awareness that we have? How are
Yeah.
we going to manifest that in our relationships, in the world, who we are?
Hmm.
How do we
Hmm.
stay in our bodies? What feels right or not right? That is huge reason for embodiment.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I want to ask you, just circle back to get your thoughts on women and our bodies and all that we've been taking on of other people's ideas, the shame that we take on, the not enoughness, the not. And I recently read a book, I'm forgetting the name, but it's by these identical twin
Mm,
sisters, Lexi and Lindsay Kite. Do you know that
right, right.
work?
Yep.
Yeah, I
I did
really
read
love
it.
I love just the premise of it, but that often we're manipulating what our bodies, what we think they should look like for somebody else. It's
There's
not really.
another great
Yeah.
book called My Body Is Not an Apology.
Hmm.
It's really a great book because she
Thank
just
you.
talks about how to love your body. So that's what
Hmm.
embodiment can do. So I have clients who don't like their bodies, but when they're actually feeling inside their bodies,
Yeah.
they don't have that experience so much.
Hmm.
It's like sometimes you do, like, ooh, don't touch that, my big butt or something, but
Yeah.
also they can start to feel how good it is just to be in their own body. That,
Mhm.
oh, it's not about how it looks. Sometimes I think we should get rid of mirrors, just say,
Yeah.
how does it feel?
Absolutely. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with that.
Yeah. And
Right,
so, yeah,
because
there's
yeah.
a lot of pressure on women,
Mhm.
a lot
Mhm.
culturally to look a certain way. And to, I always thought, ties for men, you know, keeping them from feeling their body in high heels. For women, keeping them from
Yes.
feeling the ground. So, yeah,
Yeah.
what is that? What
Mhm.
is that we
Mhm.
do to not be in connection with our bodies, and especially in the white Western European
Mhm.
culture?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for those
yeah,
just examples. And what I tune into more and more every day is whatever it is in our world is our choice. And so if we can be aware of that, we do have that choice of how we speak to ourselves, how we choose or not choose to take time to be with ourselves, to any of these things, and that someone else doesn't get to say. I mean, we are living in a very prescriptive society. I starting this business, and it's like, oh, you should do these 10, 20, 30 things to make it a success. But if I distill it down to what's right for me, it's going to look completely different. And you take bits and pieces, but I like this idea of the answers are within you. And yeah.
yeah. And there's a lot, like we talked about, pressure from outside,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Just the way our institutions are, what I learned in school and what I didn't learn in school, who has
Yeah.
control over that information.
Mhm.
Um, and just like the Black Lives Matter movement saying, I matter, my body, my who I am matters,
Yeah.
has really been hard for people, white people, because yeah, I matter too. Yeah, yeah, people say that. However, I didn't go through 400 years of slavery.
Mhm.
I didn't
Mhm.
matter at all
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah.
didn't have that genetic experience. And so there's something really important to know that, yeah, I have choice and I don't have choice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I thought of that when I said that. You know,
So there's
w-
institutional forces. And so it's important to be aware of our history, to be aware
yes.
of where I stand, like financially,
Yes.
class, even,
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
much wealth I have or privilege I have.
Yeah.
There are these, power and privilege circles, that you can put, where am I, in terms of
Yes. Where
being
I
a woman,
fall.
being white,
Mhm. Mhm.
educated, where's my power and where don't I have power? We all have that.
Yeah.
It's good to look at. And
It is
then
good. Yeah.
what does it
Mhm.
feel like in your body
Mhm.
too?
Wh-
That
What
my
is it?
neighbor might not have health insurance.
Yes. Yes.
I have it and they don't. Is that okay? No, it's like there's something that my mentors, that I've been working with for a while talk about essential goodness, that we
Mhm.
have ability to feel, oh yeah, I care about
Mhm.
people.
Mhm. Mhm.
And to keep remembering that and to come to that. That's an embodied knowing what's important to me. Where do I actually literally want to put my body? Just
Mhm.
take a stand in a way, or
Mhm.
where I put my energy. So the healing that I do inside helps me, so that inside outside, just like we
Yes.
talked about at the beginning, what's outside goes inside. So when I have a sense of myself, what can I bring forth in the world? Who I am. I don't have
Yes.
to be famous. I don't have to, you know, I don't know. I'm never going to write a book, but I am really committed to that,
Mhm.
being who I am like that in the world, bringing that into the world. It's a
What a
very
gift.
spiritual thing, really.
Yeah, it is. Um, it's such a gift. I mean, when I asked you if the Rosen method is far reaching, it's you said that there are not so many practitioners
Mhm.
in the world, would you say?
Yeah. There's
Hmm.
there's an institute, a Rosen Institute, in but yeah, it's not a huge number, and I think part of it is it's asking us to do our own work. So when we are with people,
Yeah.
we can really be with whatever arises. That I
Hmm.
have to do my own work, and I don't think
Hmm.
it comes until you're older
Hmm. Hmm.
in a certain way.
Yeah.
Because in your 20s, you're more out, you're exploring, it's like I think
Yes.
it could come. I mean, I think if we had had a different society, maybe it would come more. But I think it takes a while
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to do your own healing, to be able to really be with people
Yeah.
in this way. Yeah.
Yeah. And even, how research shows that developmentally, you reach developmentally 26, 27. For men, it can be even a little bit later. Because
Hmm.
I often think about that, like, oh, will consciousness rise in younger populations
I
earlier?
think it is actually.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is because of the larger container,
Mm-hmm.
because people are saying, like this LGBTQ, gay marriage,
Yeah.
because people are out, and almost everybody knows someone who's gay. They
Yeah.
work with them, or I mean,
Mm-hmm.
their
Mm-hmm.
parents, at the same school.
Mm-hmm.
So there's if we can, and I think integration has also helped that to a certain degree, that we have just more experience with people who are different than us or who we
Mm-hmm.
haven't known. I
Mm-hmm.
live in a neighborhood with we have a lot of Somali immigrants here, and I live in a neighborhood with lots of Somali people.
Yeah.
So and I was out the other night at Minnehaha Falls. It was a beautiful spring evening, and there were people in saris and people playing. I mean, there were just
Yeah.
people of all races and
Mm-hmm.
kids running
Mm-hmm.
around, playing with each other. It was so sweet
That is. It
to be in a
is.
multicultural
Yes.
space,
Yep.
and people were. It
Mm-hmm.
was great. I
They were
loved it.
just, yep. And I watch my kids and how they're experiencing life, and we live right outside of a big city as well, is they're exposed to just a lot of difference of expression, thought, and so almost like when a couple of them have gone to university, it's been like a little more insular and not as maybe in thought and academics, but yeah, it's a different time, and they're not afraid to say, hey, you said that the wrong way, or and it's wonderful because we are moving into that time of just more acceptance. I'm just and conversations like these just um sort of bring ideas to more people. It's exponential. So I don't know if you want to finish, Marjorie, with anything we haven't touched upon yet. So I'll ask you that before we finish up.
I think the only other thing that I didn't say is, to really that non-judgmental piece for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
that what we did to survive something, we shouldn't ever judge that.
Yeah.
And that actually can we receive it in that kind, loving way? It's like, oh, I had to hold
Mm-hmm.
in order to get through something. And our
Yeah.
bodies offer us that gift in a way.
Yeah.
But then
Mm-hmm.
they say, like that person is just like, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's at some point it says, knocks on our door and says, help,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that's why people come, I think, to me, is they've tried many things. And so this idea of listening to what their
Oh,
body needs
yeah.
is a really different approach than trying to fix it and do something and
Mm-hmm.
to say, okay, I'm going to really listen now and
Mm-hmm.
not judge you and not try
Mm-hmm.
to force you to be different,
Mm-hmm.
to receive, oh, your pain or your sadness, like your hip, and say,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's what you needed to feel sad. And can it be safe enough and okay enough and have a supportive environment to explore maybe even what's underneath that.
That
So there's
I
something about
mm-hmm.
that, really honoring those survival mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
but also knowing that there's a way that our bodies can process them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And it takes
mm-hmm.
time sometimes. Sometimes we have to titrate. We have to do little bits at a time. We can't
Yeah.
just do it fell swoop. It's kind of like grieving someone. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I don't grieve someone at one point. I might have a memory of my grandmother
Yeah.
and I'll feel sad again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I miss her.
Yeah. I know. So true. I entered a church the other day, and it's like my dad had most recently died, but just the memories of my mom, who passed away a while ago. And I like that that's kind of how we're kind of finishing up, because it reminds me of she'll know which sister it is if I say this, but think she was having back pain. And I had asked a question like, I wonder what it's here to tell you. And I don't think that we've been cultured to ask that question first. And so, um, but I think it's a great place to start. And like you're saying, without judgment, almost with reverence, like it might be painful, but how have you protected me? Thank you. And I'm so curious about what's here for me. Um,
And
yeah,
I don't want to, go to the doctor, make sure it's not something structural or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
right.
fine too, not to say that that's not
Exactly.
okay. Just
Yes.
another way in. And
Yeah.
yeah, can I experience something different? What,
Yeah.
what was it like before I had to do that? I don't know, whatever arises from
Yeah.
your own wisdom and experience. Yeah.
I
So
like that.
tend the wound, right?
Yes. And you bring up a good just point of it's multi-dimensional. That's the way when I went through my healing journey, I kind of like I was curious. I tried acupuncture. I tried Reiki. I had never done it, and it's such a gift to go to a healer like yourself, if that's possible. Where can the listeners find you? I think you have a website.
I have a
Um,
website, and I teach sometimes through the Rosen Method Open Center, which
mhm.
is based in New York, but we teach anywhere.
Okay.
And there in Minnesota, we're offering an introductory workshop to both the movement and the body work in September, and we've got some students here. And
Hmm.
so we're offering some other kinds of trainings for
Okay.
people who want to study it,
Yeah.
probably an intensive in November here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's for personal growth or for professional growth. It's not, you don't have to become a practitioner.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It can just be for your own experience. And yeah, so
Gorgeous.
that's
Yeah.
happening. And there are other centers around the world. So the Rosen Institute has a list of them.
Okay.
There's a couple more in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. We'll put all the information in the show notes of the episode.
Yeah.
Um, I want to thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your body of work with us, Marjorie. It's been a real pleasure to sit with you.
Yeah, and it's been really fun. I'm surprised. I'm more relaxed than I thought I'd be.
I love that. Okay. I want to say
Yeah,
thanks to the
thank
listeners. Thanks
you.
for being here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystical Sisterhood. To learn more about my one-on-one coaching programs or join the Mystical Sisterhood membership, visit maureenspielman.com or mysticalsisterhood.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode.